It's been a tough thing trying to get the community emergency response training program really in the rural areas of any of our states across FEMA Region 6, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Texas. We have seen the training maintained in the larger areas, the Dallases, the Houstons, the Austins, you name it. It seems to be thriving around the larger metropolitan areas where there is still some Homeland Security grant funding and things that keep it moving. But it's been tough in the rural areas. Now we've got a possible fix. And Richard Hildreth from Texas Parks and Wildlife is an emergency manager that's taken a keen interest in CERT and the way to move forward with it in rural areas around state parks. He's been partnering with Texas Association of Regional Councils of Government, who runs the CERT program in Texas, and also with Texas Division of Emergency Management, another very willing partner. And today we're going to talk to Richard and find out where we're headed and what possibilities exist. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to the hashtag R6 Prepares podcast. I'm Bill Bischoff, FEMA Region 6 Community Preparedness Officer, and we're going to be talking about community preparedness matters that affect Region 6 states and tribal nations, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Texas, and the tribal nations therein. We hope you enjoy the show.
Good morning, Rich Hildreth, Texas Parks and Wildlife, and welcome to the hashtag R6 Prepares podcast. How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well.
Good. Well, we're just going to jump right into it. I've heard from for a while that you at Texas Parks and Wildlife have been working with another partner of ours, Texas Association of Regional Councils of Government, Joe Karungau, and also with some new partners at Texas Division of Emergency Management to build CERT up in community emergency response training up in the areas around state parks. Can you tell me what that looks like?
Well, first, to give you the reason why we're doing this. When I first came to Texas Parks and Wildlife about 3.5 years ago, I looked at the capacity of our state parks to respond to disaster, and we did not have a lot of extra resources. I've always been a firm believer in CERT. I think it's a very, very good program. But unfortunately, it's very difficult to get going in rural communities. I came up with the idea of sitting down with TARC. Richard sat down in August of 2019, and we looked at the idea of TPWD becoming a CERT sponsor, if you will, to start developing these teams. Of course, it got postponed a little bit by COVID, but when we restarted, Fort Davis out in West Texas was one of the first areas that we were looking at. When we started putting it together, one of the things that we found, we actually went beyond our original vision. We found that if we invited all the surrounding communities together, the surrounding counties, we started out with 3 counties, but we now have 4 counties. We have the local regional council of governments, and we have CERT aficionados or CERT instructors from across West Texas that were very, very excited about this. And what's very nice about it is the first class that we did, we had 25 people graduate from it. 12 of them wish to be instructors and will make great instructors. So in January, we're actually be holding the first train the trainer in that section of West Texas. El Paso, has had quite a few classes, but you get out towards Fort Davis, Brewster County, Presidio, and it's a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit more sparse. The 3 counties that we originally partnered with, the total population is about 30,000 people. So they do not between the 3 counties, they do not have a lot of resources. Our goal was to go ahead and help them build those resources so they can build CERT teams.
Well, and that goal, for us is a beautiful thing because that's a difficult situation for CERT across the nation that, you tend to see our partners in the UASI areas, the urban areas, the Austins, more the Dallas, the Houstons, and like you said, El Paso. They're going to be the areas that you see active CERT teams, usually manned by the cities or the counties there that are robustly employed enough to do that. So these areas that you're talking about, it's good hope and God's will that usually gets anything done there. So you're throwing in on a strong deal. What's it look like for you on the other end when you do have these CERT teams up and running? How are they able to help Texas Parks and Wildlife, or are they?
Well, they'll definitely be a benefit. We're not looking at these being Texas Parks and Wildlife teams. We're looking at them to be community or regional teams. When the park needs them, they'll be available for there. If the community needs them, they'll be there to help in the community. Typically, if you have a large wildfire, as an example, you're going to have it's going to impact both the park and the community itself. The idea that they work together with all the responders, and it helps build those partnerships. And one of the side benefits of this is it helps cement those relationships between the park and the communities.
Absolutely. So, is there a major league cost to this, or is this all just a benefit kind of deal?
I think it's a win-win-win situation all the way around. With our partnership with TARC, we have backpacks. I was able to reach out to the government publishing office, and I was able to get the manuals printed up. So we were fine on that. So when we came in Fort Davis, we brought the backpacks, we brought the student manuals, we bought the fire prop. My agency went out and bought one of the Bullocks fire extinguisher training systems that we use for the CERT module, but we also use that for our safety department. So it's something that's a win-win situation there. The rest of the resources was from the partnership we built. We had my two instructors, co-instructors. I had Josh Garcia from the
Del Sur. Yeah, I'm very familiar. Yeah.
He actually brought their trailer out. So we had we had used their dummies, a lot of their props, and that was a definite benefit. And then we also had Jose Rivera from Cheatham. He was actually from more towards the central part of Texas, but that's still his region. He came out as one of our instructors, and he's also a master instructor. Just graduated the program the same day that I did. We graduated the program and then both drove out from Austin to Fort Davis overnight. So
fantastic. You come at it from an emergency management standpoint. Do you think that this will be something that will go statewide across Texas, or is it something that stays in this one particular area, or is it just got room to grow and we'll find out as we move along?
Actually, we've already got the second area planned. We're working with the emergency managers in the Smith County, Cherokee County area, Tyler, Texas area, and we're looking to go ahead and do a program there, a G317 CERT basic class, I believe in the first part of March. And from that, we'll hopefully we'll develop the trainer and eventually build a lot from there. One thing that this happened yesterday that I think was great. Was talking to Josh from the Isleta tribe, and they are actually now partnering with the Rio Grande COG, Council of Governments, and they're going after some of the grant funding to actually fund a region-wide CERT Train the Trainer program. They're basically taking what we started, and they're looking to expand it even further, make it, to cover not just the 4 counties, but cover all of West Texas, and build up the resource from El Paso all the way, all the way to Fort Davis and Alpine.
Oh, that is fantastic. I know that.
And for the fact that we help get that partnership going, get it rolling, I'm excited about that.
I am too. I've seen Texas Association of Regional Council of Government working towards this for years and years and years, always trying to build up the CERT program. But it seems like just as they've embraced you and TETM in recent times, it seems like there's good things that are going to continue. I also like the idea that
a little bit of a learning curve too. One of the things that we discovered, the typical way that CERT has been marketed, at least in urban areas, this is preparedness for you and your family. And it is. But you get out into some of the rural communities, and I don't want to use the word prepper, but we have, most of the people out in rural Texas are prepared. They're very well prepared. They have their food, they have their supplies, they know how to camp, they know how to hunt and fish, and can very much do well by themselves. However, if you go ahead and promote CERT, this is a way to build your community stronger. And you look at it from the standpoint that this is building that capacity in the community. They're all, most people are all for that. And if this right in with the Texas values of the neighbor helping, neighbor helping the neighbor, the neighbor's barn burns down, the whole town shows up to rebuild it.
Question, is there any robbing Peter to pay Paul on these resources? Because a lot of times in the rural areas, if you're already on the fire department, the volunteer fire department, you're and you're already running your ranch, your farm, or whatever you're doing in that community. There's a kind of a commitment that you already have. Is that time commitment? Does it move over to CERT, or does it yield to CERT, or does CERT just become another one of those things that you understand the importance of it and stand in when you need to?
I think it's a bit of a blend. As an example, some of the people that went through the class, although they're not going to be, they don't wish to be instructors, they wish to get their own teams going. The Davis Mountain Resort Volunteer Fire Department. We had the chief and the secretary for the association both take this class, and they are very excited about this class, and they want to in the Davis Mountain Resort, if they were have an event, it's very likely, even coming from other areas, it would be hours before outside resources get to them. This is something that they see as very, very valuable for the community, and it's kind of an expansion of their actual roles in the volunteer fire department. They want to they want to help build teams there. The city of Alpine, or I should say the county, we have the EMC was actually one of our participants, and she wishes to be an instructor. We had 2 students from Sol Ross University that they want to help get a campus cert going at Sol Ross there in Alpine. There's a lot of it is, yes, a lot of it is the responders that are typically already involved. I used to call it the STP, same 10 people. A lot of those people are involved, but a lot of those are the ones that wish to be the organizers now, and we're showing them how they can organize that.
When the CERT class is going on, I know there's the 8 sections, and some things, some sections mean more to participants than others. I'm particularly familiar with youth preparedness. We have really backed youth preparedness across the region over the years, and I've noticed that the teens tend to really warm to the idea of the the fire prevention, of the cribbing, of the first aid. What is it that seemed to resonate the most with the communities that are in the CERT training right now?
Like I said, the class that we did for Davis, like I said, there was a lot of I'm going to say, I don't want to say professionals, the volunteers, but also we had librarians, we had a couple teachers, we had students, but we had people who've been around emergency management of some form or other. at least for the last couple of years. So a lot of it might have been a little bit covered. I think what excited them the most was the idea of how these teams are put together and the purpose of what the teams are put together for. I think a lot of people don't realize that when disaster hits, your fire department, your police department, they're out doing windshield surveys. Their main job is to gain situational awareness of what is going on in that community, so they can then prioritize. And I think that was something that they hadn't really thought of, previous to the class. The other part of it, I think, that was very beneficial is seeing the blend of people. The teams that went in were made up of very diverse populations or very diverse professional backgrounds. And I think that they didn't realize how important it was to have people with other perspectives. And so I think for that part of it, it was definitely, I think it's going to help in their professions, and the volunteer firefighters and the teachers and everything like that. I think it's going to benefit them in that part of it too.
Well, I know that when over the years that I've looked at this CERT program and gone, I don't understand why it's not more popular than it is and utilized in local areas more than it is. And I think it is because, like most things, it's it's not a Taco Bell commercial. We're not. It's not a Budweiser, so we're not going to see it on TV up until disaster strikes, and then the word's going to be out. And that's where we hear on the other end of things, where the CERT teams have played such a prominent role in helping, whether it's in the recovery end, occasionally on the response end, many times on the preparedness end. And we found that, donations management, volunteer management, there's just so many places that a team, if you have a team, it can be plugged in where that local community needs it plugged in. So I'm hoping to see this continue to grow.
Well, in my previous life, before I got involved in emergency management, in fact, this is what got me into emergency management. I was a small town mayor up in Washington State, and our city was flooded. But I was a CERT. I actually originally took CERT in 2001. I became an instructor in 2005, and teams our members that I had helped train, they showed up in my city when we got flooded, and I was able to basically establish them. They did all the sandbagging. I had one person that took over as incident commander for it. I had a deputy that was working with them to make sure everybody was signed in. I had teams, a CERT member overseeing the strike teams of filling sandbags and strike teams of deploying sandbags. And we actually documented 3,500 hours, volunteer hours, time in, time out, who it was, where they were, what they were doing. And when it came to the recovery or the reimbursement of funds, FEMA looked at our documentation, and our share was covered just by the volunteer hours. And that was an example. That's something normally CERT wouldn't do. I know that Burnett County is currently looking at training CERT members to help with wildfire rehab. But with firefighter rehab, checking them back in, checking their vitals, getting them calmed down, getting ready to go back out on the line. That dramatically leverages resources that are very scarce during wildfires. There are so many. I believe that the opportunities for CERT members to be used in the community, both during times of disaster and blue sky times, I think it's unlimited. There was written. Ted Osborne wrote this in, I believe, 1993, a book called Reinventing Government. And one of the lines that I remember out of it was, government typically looks at community backwards. They look at a community as a glass half full and then try to find programs to fill that glass. Instead, if government looks at a community as a glass half empty, takes the resources that are already in that community and develops them, that glass will fill itself. And that's exactly what CERT does. We are taking the resources, the people in that community, we're giving them training, help them develop into those effective teams, and give them the skill sets needed to to be a valuable part of disaster response, and getting them trained up where they can then work and be a force multiplier to the local responders.
And all doing it as a force multiplier by working with your partners at TARC, at your partners at TETM, and in the local communities. It is impressive. Do you see this as something that your partners in other states, your Arkansas, Oklahomas, New Mexicos, your Louisianas, and do you see this as something that might go across the border?
I would love to see this concept go nationwide, and anybody that from other states that wishes to give me a call. You have my permission to put my contact information on this video. I'll be more than happy to sit down and talk with them and let them know what we've done, let them know what we found worked effectively and what didn't work effectively. I would love to see this go nationwide because I think there is there's a big gap that we have in our rural areas around the United States that this might be a way that can fill that.
I think you're right, and for the gap around the region, I see it being filled possibly this way, and I know that you're working hard with your partners to do it here in Texas. I want to thank you, Rich, for your vision and your willingness to share that with your state partners and with your partners in the local areas. And I love watching this and seeing how it pans out because it surely has promise. It surely has that look of something that is going to succeed. And as it does, we'll be watching it from the regional point of view and sharing it with our partners across the region. And of course, with this video, you never know how far it's going to go. It may work its way nationwide, but I certainly go ahead.
I'll be at the IM conference here in Savannah here in a couple of weeks, and there's a number of people that I know from around the nation. I'm going to, hey, this is something you might want to keep an eye on, and hopefully people will watch us, and I'll let them know about the R6 preparers too.
Fantastic. Well, Rich, thank you very much for joining us today on the hashtag R6 Preparers podcast. Thank you for doing what you're doing, and please keep us apprised of how things go in the future. And we look forward to talking to you next time around.
Thank you very much, Bill.
That about does it for this episode. We'd like to thank Laura Brown from Arkansas Tech University's Emergency Management Program for her assistance editing this podcast. And we'd like you, the listener, to give us a like if you're so inclined and share us with somebody else that might want to help prepare their community. Until next time, take care of you and yours.